Something else that is a big pet peeve of mine, something that is a big pet peeve of yours, and pretty much everybody that trains here at House of Champions. It's our next don't. Don't be stanky. Don't be dirty.
Don't do it.
Don't be nasty.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all you champions out there, welcome to another edition of the Podcast of Champions. Once again, here we are, that dude, Jamie Stanley, also known as Nick, with our coach, Mr. Kekoa, talking about the do's and don'ts of pro wrestling. There's a lot of unwritten rules in pro wrestling, but there's a lot of common sense that you would think would be common, but not necessarily. So we're here to dispel the rumors. We're here to tell you about our best practices, things in our career that we've found to be helpful to know what to do and what not to do and the times when to do them. So, Coach, what do you think the biggest not to do things that you would not want to do if you were in your pro wrestling training class?
So one of the biggest things that you should not do while you are at pro wrestling training, whether, again, it's a seminar or at your school, is one of the biggest things is definitely don't slouch. Now, you may be asking what I mean by slouching. So obviously not everyone can be doing the same drill all at once. So a lot of times the guys and girls may be around the ring. They might be around on the apron. They might be leaning on the ropes. They might be leaning on the apron, whatever the case may be. But nothing screams at a coach more that person doesn't want to be there by just doing this.
Don't do that.
Or don't do this.
Don't do that.
Right. I get it if you're tired, especially if you just did a drill and then you rolled out. But just the facial expression pointing towards the coach at least to make sure that you're still engaged in whatever you guys are doing. That's absolute number one. Don't slouch. Show that you're still paying attention.
Yep, absolutely. It's all about body language. In any other sport, you're not going to be bent over. Sometimes you get even yelled at if your hands are on your hips. So act like you want to be there, which kind of bleeds into my point, which is a do. Do be supportive, do cheer each other on, and do have a positive attitude. Obviously, wrestling is a lot of fun, but training for anything can be tough. It can be tiring. It can be grueling. Obviously, we're taking bumps and bruises in that ring, so it can kind of be demoralizing. And sometimes you can, get frustrated if you're not getting a move right or if, your footwork's off or anything that happens, just like in any sport. But you want to stick with that positive attitude, especially when others are going too, cheering each other on, high fives, pat on the back, whatever it is. You want to be positive. You want to be uplifting. You want to be encouraging with others. Wrestling is an individual sport, but especially in your training facility, you want to have a team that you guys are pushing each other and you're competing and holding each other accountable, but you still want that positive atmosphere. So especially here at the House of Champions, we really harp on our atmosphere and our just our overall our climate. We want it to be positive, something that we cheer each other on, and we're always pushing each other to strive for better. What I guess I'll hand it over to you, Coach. You either have a do or a don't. What comes to mind for you next?
So I'll go with another don't because I've had more than enough of my share of don'ts that I've accidentally done in the past as well, and I've learned from them. So don't make the same mistakes that I've done. So it's a lot easier for me to talk about those.
Sure.
So a second thing to not do is to not be on your cell phone. So whether, if you, and let me kind of premise the top of this. Obviously, life always comes up. There's always something that is going on, something that we may be dealing with, so on and so forth. So obviously communicate with your coaches or communicate with your school if there's something that you absolutely need to go and check your phone for, because I'm sure that they're not going to harp on you too much. But you definitely shouldn't be rolling out of the ring every couple minutes, or as soon as the drill is over, you're going to check your phone, or you're texting on it, or bringing the phone over to the ring, because your job is to pay attention to your coaches. Your job is to listen to what's going on, because, again, on top of it, if you're making the same mistake that maybe a coach or an instructor had said about something that may have happened in the ring, you obviously don't want to make that same mistake. The phone can wait. Again, unless something is super and super important, I always recommend obviously communicating with the coaches and the staff to just say, hey, I just want to make sure, like I have kids, you have kids. Like sometimes daycare calls, sometimes babysitters call. So we obviously at the House of Champions understand that life happens as well, and I'm sure there's other coaches, but definitely communicate and say if there's absolutely something that you have to go and check your phone for, but overall, leave the phone in the bag.
Yes, absolutely. No Instagram, no Facebook. That can all wait. We're here to wrestle. We're here to train. We're here to get better. That's a great one. I would say definitely do listen. Your coaches are here for a reason. They're here to make you better. We have years of experience between us. Coach has even way more than I do, but we're here to help you guys get better. And we have a lot of experience of things to do and that are good and things not to do that we've done that we want to help you with. So if you're not listening and not taking our advice, whether it's outside the ring stuff or even as simple as listening to drills and paying attention and a mistake that somebody made in front of you, if you make that same exact mistake, that tells us as coaches that you're not paying attention, you're not listening, you're not being coachable. Coachability is a huge thing in pro wrestling, especially because it is so subjective and, there are different flavors of ice cream, so to speak. So whatever your coach is telling you to do, you want to not only listen, but you want to understand it and you want to apply it, but you also want to retain it. So if the 5 people in front of you are making mistake A, you don't want to be the 6th person to make mistake A, because then it's like, where have you been the last 10 minutes, which happens a lot. I know that sometimes we have to harp on our students, and sometimes I've fallen victim to doing it myself, making the same mistake that somebody did in front of me. So you want to be able to listen. You want to pay attention when coach calls on you and says, okay, what was I just talking about? You definitely want to be able to answer that and not say, oh, I was on my phone. But you want to be able to answer that to show that you're invested, that you want to be there, that you're coachable, and actually do the things that they're asking you to do. If they say, hey, try this next time, you actually need to apply that and do it correctly like they said. So listen, be coachable, be a sponge, and retain and apply that information.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
And I can also speak from experience myself. When I look around the ring and I'm in the middle of telling everybody about some type of critique from what we just watched or something that might be wrong, so on and so forth, I'm definitely looking around the ring to see who is paying attention and who isn't paying attention, because after I finish some type of important statement, I will literally call out that person and just be like, what was that last thing I just said? Just to see if they spit it back at me. And if they do, great, love it.
Yep.
Thank you for proving me wrong. But it's definitely something that I keep an eye on for. So
it's a pet peeve for coaches.
I agree.
Yeah.
Something else that is a big pet peeve of mine, something that is a big pet peeve of yours, and pretty much everybody that trains here at House of Champions. It's our next don't be stanky.
Mm-mm.
Don't be dirty.
Don't do it.
Don't be nasty. We talked about it in a previous video about what you should expect in your first day of pro wrestling training. So if you're past your first day of pro wrestling training, it's something that you should know about. And if you don't know about this, I'm going to tell you right now, don't be stanky, don't be nasty.
Don't do
What that means is you have to make sure that you're on top of your hygiene. The last thing that you want is to be around your compadres. I said that with I slurred that a little bit, so I'm gonna fix that. Don't be around your training partners with stanky gear, with BO. Make sure that you shower before and after your training time, because you don't want to come in with, maybe you don't even realize how much you sweat during the day, whether it was at work or you were just doing stuff around the house, so on and so forth. Make sure you reapply that deodorant. Make sure your clothes are clean. Like I said in our last video, I always recommend to bring, a can of maybe like Axe or, Old Spice, any type of cologne or perfume.
Deodorant.
Something. Obviously, you have your regular deodorant, but something to just make you smell a little bit better, so that it's a little bit little bit better to get in the ring there with you, a little bit easier for everybody, because you don't want that stank. And especially, number one, don't, when it comes to stank, is wash your gear. For the love of everything, wash your knee pads and elbow pads. If you don't think it stinks, I guarantee you it does.
We can smell it from here.
Put it in the laundry.
Yep.
Wash it every day.
For goodness sake.
Don't do it. I'm sorry. I got a little excited.
And bring extra, because you don't have to wear the same stanky shirt for 3 hours. You can bring 2 or 3 or 4 shirts. Especially me, because as soon as I step in the ring, I start sweating. I sweat excellence, so it smells good and great, but also I sweat, so I bring extra T-shirts. So that's why.
But yeah, especially in Florida, it's always hot down here. Depending on your facility, it's probably not well ventilated, because that's usually the norm. So obviously, bring, as Coach said, bring some extra clothes. Make sure that as soon as that shirt is sweaty and wet,
Sweaty and wetty.
Yes, that's what I was going with, but I didn't say it right. Take that shirt off, put a dry one on, so that you don't get the canvas all sweaty and wetty.
That's it, baby. Don't be a sweaty Betty and be all wetty. I can go all day like this, but
that.
I won't, because we are on a time limit. Let's talk about safety, guys. That is the number one do. Obviously, wrestling is a contact sport. It is a collision sport. You are slamming each other. You're tackling each other. You're hitting each other. You're making contact. So not only do you want to be smelling good, but you also want to make sure that you take care of yourself and your partner. It's a dance, you know. It takes 2 people to put on a good show. So make sure that safety is the number one priority. That you are making sure that you don't try anything that you don't know. Try any moves that you say, I saw this on the TV. I want to go try this. I want to try triple Hurricane Rana backflip through a table, and you can't even do a headlock takeover. So don't be the guy that does that. And we know some guys that are like that. So definitely safety is first. Make sure that you are minding your P's and Q's on that, because you don't want to injure yourself or injure somebody else when you have your own life or their life in your hands, when they're trusting you on something trivial and dumb, like trying a new move that you probably shouldn't be trying or that you haven't tried before. So safety is definitely paramount and number one in wrestling, because you want to return that person home from training or from a match exactly how they came. That when you shake that person's hands, that's what you're promising them. So safety's number one. I think we hit them all, Coach.
We hit them all now, baby.
We hit them every single one, and it only took a couple edits, a couple of cuts, and one train going by. So other than that, spot on.
Perfect.
So thank you, champions, for tuning in to another one of our Champion podcast. So until next time, be great, be excellent, show love, go make a difference today, champions. Go mad.
Aloha.